Hi guys, and welcome to your video. So today I thought we're going to do a little reading relating to IMBOLC, which is the festival that's happening today. As I'm recording this, the video is going to go up tomorrow, and it's related to the celebration of upcoming spring. So I have a little spread that I'm going to go through, and I have these 3 decks prepared for you here. I am also going to, instead of using crystals today, use some dice, which I will be rolling now to see what numbers correspond to each pile to help you pick which one would you like to listen to. So for pile number 1, we have number 6 with the Tarot of the Divine. For pile number 2, we have number 2 on those honey colored dice with the Woodland Wardens deck. And for pile number 3, we also have number 6. I don't know if you can see it very well. Number 6 on sort of pearlescent dice with the Astrocodes Oracle deck. So when you feel ready, feel free to pick which pile would you like to listen to. There will be timestamps in the description below. I would also like to show you the top card of each of the decks. It just feels like the right thing to do. So starting with pile number 1, we have the card of the Moon. For pile number 2, we have the Otter and Cattail with Peace. And for pile number 3, we have the Solar Flare with Activate in reverse. Okay, so once you're ready to pick, go to the description box and select the relevant timestamp. I'll see you there. Hi, pile number 1. So this is going to be a reading. We're going to be putting 7 cards into a bit of a spread to sort of do a little bit of a whimsical reading relating to IMBOLC. So it's not really relating to sort of specific areas of life. It's a little bit more, how do I say this? It's a little bit more general than that, a little bit more thoughtful, and sort of it's meant to give you some thought and some pause. So I'm just shuffling your deck and preparing the spread. Okay, there we go. Separate the deck and pile. Right. So the 7 cards that we're going to be pulling. I'm just going to place your dice here. I'm still getting used to the setup, so bear with me. We're going to be pulling a card for things that you need to let go of the things that are sort of showing up in your life now, and so on. I think I'll need to move this here and move these up slightly just so you can see. I do like to go with specific spreads just because they answer sort of more specific questions. Okay, I'll go your bottom of the deck energy here. Right, so for your first card that we're going to be looking at, it talks about what is currently in slumber. what is currently sort of asleep and in waiting in your life, what is currently inactive. And for that, we have the Knight of Wands in reverse, which the Knight of Wands is a very charismatic character, a very action-driven sort of manifester. In reverse, it can talk about impulsivity and sort of living just for the moment, a little bit of a YOLO energy. So this is something that is currently, you're capable of this, but you're not doing this. Now, in terms of things that you need to cleanse this season, things that maybe you need to reconsider or sort of get rid of, things like that, you have the Hierophant, which is really interesting because, okay, so you are capable of living for the moment and sort of, it's making me think of a rock and roll lifestyle, being very in the present. You're capable of that. You're not currently doing that. And the energy that we are told to sort of work on and cleanse for you is the Hierophant energy, which is very related to structure and rules and societal expectations. So you're nearly being encouraged to maybe lay your head down a little bit, or just embrace your I wouldn't say embrace your impulsivity, but not obviously, with moderation. Now, what you need to sacrifice is the Page of Wands in reverse. Now, again, this is very interesting because looking at this, the Page of Wands in reverse talks about having a power, having an ability, having something that you're really good at. It could be a skill, it could be anything like that. There's something that could inspire you, there's something that could inspire people around you. And it's about how you use it. So the pages are not an extremely serious energy. That's what the Queen and the King are for. And in reverse, Page of Wands talks about not taking those gifts seriously. So while it's important for you to recognize your passion and your drive and sort of let your head down a little bit, it's also important that you take, not necessarily seriously in the sense of being really strict, but maybe in the sense of realizing that you do have something that is special to offer. The other thing that I'm noticing as well is that we have a progression or regression from King of Wands to the Page of Wands. So you have a Knight energy within you, but you're currently in the Page energy. So it's important for you to let go of the Page energy and step into the Knight energy. Allow yourself to recognize that you have what it takes and that you don't necessarily have to stick to the same rules that everybody else does, or do everything the way that it's been prescribed. Maybe, you know, a picket fence life isn't for you in some sort of way. Yeah, step into your confidence. I think that's the message here. Now, in terms of something that will help you throughout the season, because this might feel harsh and it might feel like you know, you're sort of on thin ice, or sort of trying to do this by yourself, maybe. Something that will help you is focusing on your intuition. What is your internal voice telling you? And I think also with this particular priestess, something that always comes to mind is she has a bit of inner knowing, as a high priestess does, but she also seems very relaxed. So maybe something that will help you is working on your self-confidence. It might be, well, as we said, you need to sort of look at the way that society is, with the Hierophant, and cleanse your approach to it. So finding your confidence and your inner peace and looking after yourself is going to be helpful. She does spend time in sort of lavish environment with a book. Find what makes you happy, acknowledge that, and find your own peace, I think is the message here. As for possibilities that are going to be present in your life in the coming season, we have the Emperor in reverse. Now, the Emperor in general talks about, again, structure, about responsibility, about planning, things being organized, and so on. Interestingly, even more so than the Empress, I think the High Priestess is the ultimate opposite of the Emperor. Because the High Priestess is intuitive while the Emperor is planning. The High Priestess believes in herself while the Emperor has solid proof. So there's also an element here where the High Priestess is focused on books and comfort, and the Emperor is focused on a sword, and he's covered in armor, which is not comfortable. So something that will be a possibility that's going to show up is the ability to lay your hair down again and to not be so rigid with planning, to not be, to sort of move a little bit into more feminine energy out of masculine energy. It may also relate to spending a little bit more time at home, and instead of chasing accolades and chasing recognition in the external world, sort of career and reputations and such, maybe it's time to spend a little bit of time at home, some cozy evenings at home, and consider what your life outside of your employment is, and what do you like it to be. Okay. Take a sip of my coffee. Right. Now, There's also some energies that are within you right now, and these are the Magician. You have what it takes. There's plenty of positive cards here. I also want to point out that we have 4 major arcana so far in a 7-card spread, which is already more than half. So this seems like an important message. Also, the High Priestess and the Magician both are in this particular deck. The Magician is a feminine energy, but in general, they are both about intuitive things, about manifesting and so on. So if you thought when I was saying this that the High Priestess energy doesn't sound like you, well, maybe it actually is. Maybe you don't give yourself enough credit, and you don't have to be so rigid in order to get what you want. There are other ways of approaching things. Maybe what I'm actually getting is that maybe you are so focused on doing things according to plan and according to social sort of perceptions and so on, then you are not considering other ways of achieving your goals. And what do I mean by that? For example, maybe you listened to some podcasts about productivity and you are doing things according to their methods, sort of breaking big goals into smaller chunks and so on. But actually, when you think about it, this is not the way that you like to work. So even though you're following the rules, maybe this isn't what works best for you. It's important that you listen to yourself and follow your own advice because you have what it takes. The thing that I'm getting drawn to here is if you have a look at this Magician, she has on top of her wand, there is like a literal shooting star that she's in control of. And this is what you can do as well. You can reach the stars, you can wish upon a star and get what you're after. What I'm also noticing is that both the Emperor and the Magician have the same sort of plant around them. There's some sort of ivy. Now, what this tells me is that they can both take you to the same result. And in fact, the Magician has significantly more of the ivy around them. So while the Emperor has been the Emperor energy, the planning, the structure, the self-discipline, was getting you somewhere. Going into your more feminine energy and going with the flow a little bit more is actually going to be better and produce better results. Now, lastly, we're going to look at either blessing or guidance. And we have a King of Coins. So what I'm getting here is that your blessing is going to be a material result. There is going to be, and again, this links back to me to the Emperor and the Magician. There is going to be something that you achieve materially. Now, again, thinking about productivity versus sort of going with the flow. When it comes to the King of Coins, we see this ancient turtle. Now, this makes me think of all of the myths in which turtles, there will be like an island and the island is actually on the back of the turtle, similarly to how it is on here. And the turtle is like a really, really old creature with all of the wisdom that only emerges from the sea every so often, mentions a few things, and then submerges again and sort of takes its time. It's very, very peaceful, it's very slow, it doesn't like to be disturbed. However, it is not to be underestimated because it has plenty of power. And usually it's also huge because it's an entire island on its back. So what I'm getting here is that this sort of links back to the High Priestess for me. You have something in you that's a great strength. You have something that is unmatched. You don't need to rush, and you don't need to chase, and you don't need to try to be the most productive around to get to what you need. The other thing that I'm noticing as well is that the Magician and the King of Coins have a very similar coloring, and both of them have stars on the cards. Now, in order to get to in order to get the best result, the approach that we talked about with the Magician is going to be the most helpful. It doesn't mean that this is the only way, but those energies go closely together. Another thing to mention, and I'd like to point this out later on, sort of at the end, is that the bottom of the deck energy is the Lovers in reverse. Now, this talks about getting to know yourself and focusing on your own cup rather than connecting with somebody else. It doesn't mean that you have to be necessarily single or anything like that. It just means that you are focusing on what's best for you. And this nicely ties into the entire rest of the reading where we talked about how your ideas don't necessarily align with those of everybody around you, and that's okay. So I hope this reading has been helpful to you in some sort of way, or at least provided some entertainment. I will be uploading something else next week again, so I hope to see you there. And if this was helpful to you at all, I would love for you to comment and let me know what you liked about it. All right, thank you so much. Bye. Hi, pal number 2. Welcome to your reading. You've got the honey colored number 2, which I'm just going to place here on the side for you, and the Woodland Wardens deck that I'm just going to shuffle for you now. The one thing we're going to be going through a reading related to IMBOLC, which is a festival happening now as I'm recording, which is a celebration of the upcoming spring. I believe it's also a festival of fire. I do realize that in other hemispheres this might be a Lammas celebration instead. For some reason this is coming through, even though it did not come through in the other pile. Now, I'm just going to reach under the table because one of the cards literally fell out of the deck and dropped to the floor. Apologies if there were any sort of weird noises. So I'll come back to this one. I'll put it to the side. Now, we're going to be pulling 7 cards to see the energies associated. Now, this isn't a reading that relates to sort of areas of life or anything like that. It is a little bit of a more thoughtful reading, if you will. So Okay, that's your deck shuffled, and we'll be pulling your cards. I'm gonna place them here. We'll see if we can see everything, hopefully. Okay. Now, I actually don't remember what was the card that we pulled in the card selection. This is the bottom of the deck energy, and for some reason I keep thinking this is the same card. It might be a different one. I might be misremembering here, but it talks about introspection. And the card that fell out to the floor was the skunk and magnolia with protection. So this might be significant. We'll look at how it links to the rest of the reading in just a moment. My apologies if you can hear the beeping noise. For whatever reason, there seems to be a noise outside. So the one thing that I'm already getting is there is a beeping noise, which usually sort of relates to warning us about something, and there's also the protection card with Magnolia. So I wonder if there's anything that you need to be cautious of at the moment. Not to scare anybody or to give you any anxiety or anything like that. It's just something to think about, but we will see how this links to the rest of the reading. So the very first thing that we'll be looking at is an energy that's currently in hibernation. Okay, so with the horse and bluebell, modest fortitude. This talks about slowly making your way toward your goal. It's about getting your head down and working on something, being diligent, and not necessarily doing anything for clout or credit. So it might be that you have been struggling with some procrastination recently, but we will look into how this links to the rest of the reading as well. Next up, it's what do you need to purify or cleanse this season, or sort of change your approach to in any kind of way. And we have the bat and hellebore with intuition. I wonder, considering that you have the protection card as well, whether there are any influences that are clouding your connection to your intuition, especially because the bottom of the deck energy, I'll move this sort of into the frame so that you can see that as well, is the introspection card. So I wonder if there's anything that's blocking you from your own intuition and maybe influencing you. It might be worth doing things like meditating to sort of sink into your own energy more than you are into the energy of others around you. Now, what you need to sacrifice and let go of is bashfulness in reverse. It might be that you are currently not comfortable with being in the spotlight. I can also see that both the bat and the opossum are hanging from branches in different ways. And both of these cards are black backgrounds. They both relate to sort of emotions or internal thought processes that we have. So it seems like you might be feeling anxious, which is clouding both your intuition and stopping you from being able to make the progress that you would like to do with your goals. Now, linking this to the protection energy from the beginning, maybe it's not necessarily about the fact that something might happen. Maybe it's about the fact that you think something might happen. One thing that I'm being drawn to as well is the fact that the skunk's markings on here are in the shape of a wishbone. Maybe there is something that is actually not as bad as you think it is, and it's time to work on your thoughts more than it is time to worry about anything external. Now, one thing that is going to help is trusting in the invisible. Again, we have a card with a black background, sort of one that talks about our internal world, with the snail and huckleberry. I'm also drawn to the fact that both the horse and blue ball have sort of purple flowers on it, and this is a purple berry. Purple is a color of intuition, the third eye, and so on. So this might be important. Where we see the snail, it talks about trusting in your guides, trusting in messages, and also things like when you see angel numbers or your own intuition, just in general, not relying extremely on external proof. So I'm wondering as well whether there's something that you would like to be working on. There is a goal of yours that you have, and maybe you're feeling a little bit demotivated or unmotivated. There is something that you're not seeing the results of yet, but please don't feel discouraged. You might not see the results now, but that doesn't mean that there isn't anything happening. There might be things that you're not seeing that are there. Oh my God, I keep struggling to speak, so that might be one thing as well. Maybe, and you know, I experienced this as well. Maybe because you're feeling anxious, you are struggling to vocalize what you want to say. But yeah, there might be forces in motion that you're not seeing. For example, sometimes if you're really good at something that you do at work, people don't necessarily come to you to tell you that you're good at it. But eventually, after a period of time, you might hear from your boss that you're getting promoted because they've noticed that you have been consistently working hard on something. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, and it is rare. And I'm not saying this is necessarily something that's going to happen. I'm just saying this is an example. There is something that you're doing that has been noticed or has some influence on your life, but you're not seeing it just yet. So just trust that there is movement, and yeah, see if you can awaken that motivation, the will to continue working persistently on it. Now, as for possibilities that are currently showing up in your life, we have the Ram and Dahlia with determination. Again, this talks to me about working on something. Now, a ram is a very determined animal. The horns obviously in the wild, you use for protection and to break down barriers and so on. Now, in this particular case, this talks about breaking down doors. So is there sort of an environment that you're not a part of? Is there a door that you need to break down? Would that, for example, relate to things like getting into a specific industry? Are you trying to break into an industry? There is going to be an opportunity for you to do that, but it will depend entirely on whether you are willing to work hard and stay determined to make it work. I would also like to point out that the peonies and the dahlias on here do look quite similar in the sort of overall shape and color. I'm not saying they are they are very similar, but that I'm being drawn to that. So it's not currently time to run away. It's not time to hide. It is time to be persistent and to show up and trust. You sort of will need to find something that will allow you to present yourself into new industry or in the new role that you're stepping into. What the spread is telling me so far is that the easiest way for you to feel comfortable in showing up is to believe and to trust in the invisible. Whether you're trusting that, for example, your guides would warn you, or your guides wouldn't push you to do something that wouldn't be good for you. Or whether, if you are religious, for example, is there a deity that you believe supports you and is looking after you? Because the important message here is that you are protected. This card literally fell to the ground. You are protected. It jumped out of the deck while I was shuffling it. It didn't happen in any of the other readings I've done so far. Okay. Now, for sorry about this. For energy within you that is showing up, we have creative ingenuity with passion flower. You're coming out of the darkness. And what do I mean by this? You have 4 different cards with black backgrounds. It seems like you're currently going through it. It seems like there's stuff going on. You're anxious. Maybe you have a bit of imposter syndrome happening. You're going to come out of this. It's going to feel brighter. It's going to feel lighter. The spider creates its home using creativity. So there might be a creative endeavor that you're trying to start. But more important than that, with passion flower, it does relate to passion. It relates to creativity as well. So what is it that drives you? Are you currently working on your passion? Are you finding creative ways to incorporate your passion into your life so that you can break into the spaces where you want to be? Are you, for some reason, the spider makes me think of people who make things. Is there any sort of DIY or crafts that you're working on? Stuff like that. Is this something that you are working on? It doesn't have to be. It's just one of the things that's coming through. So yes, the energies around you are going to allow you to stay determined and show up and break into a new space, but you need to work on your creativity and show up. Now, another thing that I'm sort of coming back to is the anxious feeling. Anxiety is the opposite of creativity. It stifles creativity. So again, maybe it doesn't feel so glamorous. This isn't how creativity is portrayed in media and so on. But doing just a little bit at a time, trying to work consistently on something is actually going to be better for your creativity than stressing out about everything. So just try to take small steps. And creativity is like a muscle. You're going to get better. Lastly, we have guidance or blessing. Balance. So this could mean two things for me. One, you might need a little bit more balance in your life. Is there anything that you are currently not doing? Maybe, and I don't mean it in the sense that you need to be more productive. I mean it in a sense that, for example, should you maybe eat healthier to give yourself plenty of energy to be working on your goals? Is there anything that you're doing too much of? For example, working or staying up late, trying to get things done and so on. Or maybe with the modest fortitude energy being currently in slumber, maybe your style of working is kind of erratic and you need to bring it into balance a little bit. What this could also mean is that if you look at the progression of colors here, once the opportunity shows up and you challenge yourself to be creative and to take it, everything is going to become lighter, everything is going to become a little bit more balanced, and we're going from the heavy energy of the ram to a lighter energy of a spider to a flying light energy of a dragonfly. We're going from dark to brighter to yet brighter. So the new opportunities are going to bring balance, and all of that is bringing you to a situation where you're going to feel better. Another thing that I am also noticing in terms of progression of colors is that this card fits perfectly in here. We're sort of going from black to dark blue to blue to card with blue elements on it as well. So working consistently on the creative pursuit is the bridge that's going to take you to feeling more balanced. The last thing that I will point out, and this is sort of showing me that maybe something that you're working on is writing, because those pansies to me look a little bit like they have a face. Now, this makes me think of Alice in Wonderland. I'm not sure why, if there were sort of flowers with faces there, don't remember. But this could relate to writing as well. So that's everything that I have for you today. I do hope that this was somehow helpful. If it was, do please let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you here again soon. Bye. Hi, pile number 3, we've got the number 6 on the pearlescent white dice for you. I'm just going to pop in the corner here. And we also have the solar flare with activating reverse for you as a significator. I'm going to be using an IMBOLC spread today. which doesn't necessarily talk about specific areas of life, so we'll see what comes up. It does sort of link to things that you might need to think about what's coming up in your life and so on, but we will get to that. I'm going to be pulling 7 cards, and we will go through them together. Now, IMBOLC is actually today, as I'm recording. The video is going to be going up tomorrow. For some reason, I did intend to post this video last week, and I ended up straying from the schedule that I made for myself. So this is going slightly out of order. It might be relevant somehow to you. Is there anything that you sort of were planning to do, but it didn't quite work out the way that you planned? There we go. So, cards. Okay. Now, at the bottom of the deck energy, you have the card of the 9th house with exploration. Okay, so first off, we're going to be looking at an energy that's currently in slumber in your life, something that is currently asleep, or sort of untapped into in your life. And for that, we have the conjunction with Alliance in reverse. Alliance in reverse talks to me about individuality. As you can see in the conjunction card, or if you can see, there's a bit of color. This card represents a group of geese. They're flying in a formation. So generally speaking, this card talks about working in a group, but in reverse, it talks about working alone and sort of being your own steer. We'll see how this links to the rest of the reading. We have an energy of what you need to cleanse as well, which is communication with the 3rd house. Interestingly, it also portrays birds, so birds might be somehow important. What I'm already getting is we have very similar symbols on the cards. The exploration card has sort of similar markings to the communication card, and all 3 feature circles. So there might be something within your circle in your life that you need to communicate or clarify. So we have communication in the clarifying energy. Is there anything that you need to clarify, as in has there been a misunderstanding that you need to address? Or is there a clear communication that you need to give to someone? Is there anything that needs to change, or anything that you need to address? Things like that. With Alliance in reverse, it does make me think that maybe there's something that you need to do alone, and there's someone that needs to be told that you want to do this alone. As for the next energy, we have what you need to let go of and sacrifice. And it's vision. For some reason, and I think this also is because of the 2 birds in this card, I feel like this is to do with a relationship. I wouldn't say this necessarily has to do with a romantic relationship, but some sort of a relationship. Now, Neptune can talk about intuition, but it can also talk about dreams and so on. It could, I'm not saying this is necessarily for everyone, it could talk about the Lulu. Now, I wonder if there is a relationship in your life that you currently are in and you have a vision for, that deep down you know this isn't the right fit for you. That you need to go about something alone, maybe explore your options. Exploration can also talk about travel, and we have migrating birds here. So maybe there is something that you need to travel for, and this person can come with you. And it's time to sort of communicate clearly, but also look at the situation clearly. Maybe also, instead of looking at intuitive messages in this particular scenario, you need to look at basically hard, cold truths of what's happening. Next up, we have an energy that's going to help you in this period. And for this, we have an invitation with Descendant in reverse. Now, what this is telling me is that you need to carefully consider what do you invite into your life and what you're opening up to. And maybe this is exactly what needs to happen here. Is there a connection or communication that you're inviting that you don't actually think is serving you? And if so, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to clearly communicate what it is that you need and what you want, and what it is that you don't need and don't want? Okay. Now, as for energies that are opening up in your life or around you, we have Leo with Shine. Now, I'm noticing straight away that these cards, the Leo card and the Alliance card in reverse, have very similar coloring. So not only are you going to have the opportunity to shine, but it will be your spotlight. It will just be for you, not for anybody else. So, and also lions in general they're not solitary creatures, and lionesses hunt in packs, but lions themselves are solitary. There can only be one lion in a specific space. So is there anything where you're sort of trying to make space for somebody else, or trying to share with somebody else? For example, this could be, as an example only, this could be in a work setting. Are you participating in working on a project with somebody else, even though you're doing all of the work? If it comes to social life, is this something that is being organized, like an event or a dinner party, and you're actually doing everything, but you're inviting this person to accompany you, to share credit with them? Are you seeing somebody that isn't bringing the same energy to the table as you are? there is going to be an opportunity for you to shine. It's going to be for you and you alone. As for energies that are currently stirring within you rather than outside of you, we have Virgo in reverse with digest. Now this tells me that this is sort of not exactly the most pleasant thought process, but you are preparing to not digest stuff anymore that is bad for you. It's like you can't stand certain things anymore. You cannot agree with it anymore. It's going to make you well, it's not going to, but it is sickening when you think about it. So there's going to be an opportunity to shine again, and you need to take it, while you're also recognizing it's like you're seeing things that were only in your imagination, or things that you wanted to be true but weren't, and they relate mostly to the fact that you're seeing the best in people, the fact that you want to make space for others, that you do want to take people with you, but not everyone can come with you. It's a bit of a brutal energy, but this is, you know, sometimes it is like this. This is a very sort of straightforward energy, and I'm not seeing much more to this. So lastly, we have guidance or blessings that are coming up for you. And for this, we have 6th house with sustainability. What I'm noticing straight away is how different these two cards are. Not only in their coloring, but if you look at the spheres, in the Neptune card, it's all spiky and sort of angry looking and so on. Meanwhile, in the balance card, it's more of a smooth cycle. The figure is holding it with her hands, so it can be touched without sort of hurting oneself. So what this is telling me is that even though it might be unpleasant to realize that you're in a situation where something that you thought was real or true, or something that you thought was great and it actually isn't, maybe it's holding you back from something, realizing that you need to let something go and go out on your own is going to bring you balance. It's going to make you feel peaceful. And I'm also seeing the sort of similarities here, which tell me that you are going to be able to explore things better once you're more balanced. Also, interestingly, when I lifted this card, I did notice that there is a Pisces sensitized in reverse on here, which also talks about not taking on other people's problems. So this is another piece of confirmation here. Also, as I started talking about the exploration and the sustainability, I got a message pop up, and I can see on my screen in the little preview that it's from a friend who lives in a different country. So this is another piece of confirmation for me. Is there a place that you're wanting to go where somebody cannot come with you? Just something to think about. But I'm keeping drawn to the Leo card here, you have what it takes. The Queen or King energy is also making me think of Simba from Lion King 2 and the way he returned to his rightful place. So if you've lost something, there is a way of getting it back. But you need to focus on yourself rather than those around you, especially not relationships that are not bringing things to you that you need. Okay, so this is all that I have for you today. I hope this was somehow helpful. If it was, I would love to hear about what this tells you in the comments and how this relates to you. And thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you the next time. Thanks, bye.